Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Donna, and for those of you who are not, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know that you don't have to, so it warms my heart that you do. Today I am gonna do a video on the essentials for a novice. So I thought about doing this a while ago, and I really contemplated what I really wanted to put into this video, because about a year ago I was a novice and I didn't really look up any YouTube videos on what I needed. I just started purchasing, and I really found myself with a lot of stuff that I couldn't use. I had been steered wrong, not steered wrong necessarily, but I had listened to a lot of hype going on and ended up not using some of the products that I actually purchased. But these products that I have laid out here are pretty much essentials for just about anybody, so let's just jump in. I'm going to try to go from makeup application to takeoff of the makeup application, so we'll go from there. So the first thing I have for you guys is primers. When I first started in this makeup venture of mine a year ago, I did not really firmly believe that a primer had anything to do with how my makeup would apply to my face, how it would stay on my face, how it would come off my face. And it is actually a product that I've changed my mind about in the last year. It is a very essential product to a makeup application. So I have some different ones here. I have the Laura Geller Spackle Primer, which is my go-to Holy Grail primer option, and she does have multiple primers to choose from. This is the primer that I use every single day. Not this one specifically, but I use the Laura Geller Spackle primers every single day. So there will be a difference with application of makeup dependent on the primer that you're using. I think that one of the videos I recently watched that was a telltale sign of that is a Raw Christy Beauty video where she was giving a foundation a second chance because the foundation company thought that maybe she got a bad batch, and then she had heard that it was probably the primer that she had underneath of the foundation that was causing it to react differently, and that is true. Dependent on the primer that you use, you have to find a primer that works well with the makeup that you're also putting on your face. So these primers aren't going to work for everybody, and I know that Laura Geller makes different options, and I'll put a picture of them up here, of primers, and there is typically one in that bunch that is right or suitable for whatever makeup application you're using. I just find her primers to be the best ones I've used on my face thus far. I also have used pore fillers, Benefit Professional, or this NYX pore filler is pretty amazing as well. It is a really silicone-y texture, so it's going to go on your skin quite a bit differently than this primer. This primer goes on more like a lotion. This goes on more like a pore filler. You kind of put it on your face and like push it into your face. It's not very tacky. That one's also not very tacky, but there are tackier primers. But that would be the first thing on the list for a novice to purchase, would be a primer. In addition to face primers, there's also eye primers. This is an Ulta Beauty super affordable tinted eye primer. This goes on your eyes to prime your eyes prior to your eye makeup application, and again, like I said, wasn't into the whole primer thing, didn't think it made a difference, but it truly does. An eye primer will truly solidify your makeup for the day. I've had shadows last on my eyes almost twice as long with a primer underneath them than they do without a primer underneath them. The next thing on my list is foundations, and I have a couple different options for foundations. I do have like a powder foundation. This is, I'm dropping stuff. This is a loose powder foundation. It is Bare Minerals Matte Foundation in medium beige. I also have the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better CC Plus Cream with SPF 50, which is a fuller coverage foundation, so it goes on like a cream. And then this is Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Tinted Hydrating Gel Cream, which actually applies to your face that like a BB cream. So if you're not a foundation person, go with something like this that's going to have super light coverage. It's not going to feel like much on your face. It's not going to be super heavy. This is more for people, loose powder foundation or anti-powder foundation is more for people that have oilier skin. This tends to accentuate dry patches on dry skin, and I only know that because I have super dry skin, and this used to be my go-to. And this guy is actually a pretty fabulous foundation. I do love it. As you can see, it's almost empty. It is a great option. The great thing about foundation is 9 times out of 10 you can find a really great foundation that works for you that also has SPF. If you do not put an SPF on your face prior to foundation, if you don't put an SPF on your face, then you're opening your face up for all kinds of things that sun damage can cause. Find yourself a double duty item with SPF in it and you're sold. You will want to pick out the foundation that suits you best, whether it be powder or pressed powder or a BB cream or a full coverage or more full coverage, and there's more full coverage than this for sure. There's also stick foundations. Find one that works for you and go with it. The next thing would be a concealer, and I have a couple different ones here. This is a Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. It is a full coverage anti-aging waterproof concealer. It is a cream. Concealer also comes in this form, which is a liquid, and it has a doe foot applicator to help you put it on. Concealer also comes in pots that you just put your finger in and use to conceal. This also makes a great eye primer. So concealer is one of those things that you definitely need in your novice makeup kit, and part of the reason why is to brighten up the under eye area, but also to cover up like dark circles or, you know, blemishes, those kind of things. The next thing I have for you is bronzers, and I have a couple different ones here. I have a loose powder bronzer, also by Bare Minerals. Again, this would be more for somebody who has oily skin, I would think. I still use it, but what I find with powders is that loose powders, they go on really pigmented, and I struggle with them. So if you are going to go the loose pigment route and you're a novice, definitely pick a color that's lighter for you. This is a really dark bronzer. It is called Faux Tan, and it is from Bare Minerals. Some other ones that I pulled out were my Lisa Frank and Glamour Dolls Bit and Bronzed Matte Bronzer. So this is a really dark bronzer. And when you purchase bronzers, you can purchase a light and a dark bronzer and practice with the darker bronzer as a contour when you get to that point. I would not suggest a contour kit for a novice because they don't yet know what they're doing as far as makeup application goes. So practice with a darker bronzer before you go out and buy a contour kit. But I do have a couple different tones of bronzer here. This is a lighter bronzer, but this is a really beautiful bronzer. On my skin right now, it doesn't appear to be very pigmented, but it is just a really natural bronze color, and this one is quite a bit darker, and it's going to work for like the summer months when I am already tan. I can bronze around my face with that. The next thing I have is blushes. Well, I don't believe that a lot of people use blush because they already have rosy cheeks. What I have noticed is that even though I already have rosy cheeks, once I get the rest of my makeup on, that rosiness kind of goes away and my face kind of looks super pale even with a bronzer on it until I put blush on. So I have two different blushes here. I have the Essence Satin Touch blush in Satin Coral, and I have the 12-hour Amazonian Clay 12-hour blush by Tarte. Just one of them that I have in Feisty. These are both matte blushes, both very neutral tones, which would be good for just about any complexion, depending on what you wanted in rosiness. So this is the Coral color, and this is the Amazonian Clay color. This is Feisty is what it's called, and this is Satin Coral. And they're both just very, they're both pigmented enough that you can see them, but not so pigmented enough that you don't get any, you don't have that forgiving nature of a natural color to your cheeks. As a novice, you're going to struggle with, you know, the application of it all. So finding yourself within that natural tone realm is really important for the makeup application being more forgiving than not. You don't want to go gung-ho with a deep red blush and then have it streak down your face. I've had that problem. It's not pretty. So the next thing I have for you is highlighter. And the two options that I have the Laura Geller Gilded Honey, and I have the Wet n Wild Mega Glow highlighter, and this one is Crown of My Canopy, which is just a really pretty, like, copper colored highlight. Can you guys see that? And this one is Gilded Honey, and it is a really pretty gold highlight. And I would suggest probably a gold one or a lighter shade, maybe even a pink highlight for the novice, because it blends more into your natural skin tone. It also blends easier into a blush, a natural blush that you're putting on your face. But if you don't want to buy a blush and a highlighter, they do make blush options that are also shiny. So you have a blush that works. It's like double duty, right? So I have two options here. One of them I don't think you can get in this color anymore, but I do believe you can still get these mineralized skin finishes from MAC. This one is in Stereo Rose, and it's just a really pretty pink color that has a very nice shine to it. So it's going to act on your face as if it is a blush and a highlight at the same time, which is good for the average person that just doesn't want to purchase so much makeup but still wants that highlighter feel. The other one I have is Papa Don't Peach Blush from Too Faced, and it is this one down here. It also is really natural looking on the face, but also has a bit of a shine to it, so it creates the illusion of a blush and a highlighter at the same time. The next thing I have for you is eyes. For the novice, I would suggest a neutral eyeshadow palette. The reason why I would suggest a neutral eyeshadow palette is because you're learning to do things to your eyes that you've never done before. You're learning to contour your eyes, you're learning which colors work well, and you want, again, with the forgiving tones, you want a forgiving palette. So one of the first palettes I ever purchased, and I do suggest purchasing a neutral eyeshadow palette as opposed to single shadows, and the reason why is cost. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, a single eyeshadow is going to cost you more per pan than a palette is, for the most part. The reason why I say that is because these pans are maybe smaller, but you get so many different shades. There's 12 shades in this, and there are mattes and there are shimmers, and this cost me like $40, whereas if I had purchased these by the pan at $5 a piece, and pans run anywhere from $5 to, you know, $20 a piece for a single eyeshadow pan, this palette these colors would have cost me lots more. But with that being said, I suggest a neutral eyeshadow palette. This palette has mattes on the bottom, shimmers on the top, and it's a very neutral palette. There's blacks and browns and creams and whites, and I could use this on my eyes. It was very forgiving. I could also play around with some shimmer color. After I put on my eyeshadow primer, I could use this to set the eyeshadow primer. I could also use it as a brow bone highlight, or this shimmer of the same color as a brow bone highlight. I could contour my eyes with any of these darker colors, put the lid color on, and I felt like I was accomplishing something and learning something while maintaining a very forgiving color palette. Some other ones that are good if you're looking for a pop of color are like the Tartist Pro palette by Tarte. Is very, very pretty. It does have these colors for, you know, setting your eye. It also has, you know, brow bone shades. It also has some shimmers in there. There is all kinds of shades in here that you could play with, but it is a very forgiving eyeshadow palette. Another one that is really good, and this is just one of the mini Morphe palettes. I will say that I love this palette, and I know that it's been talked about way too much on YouTube, but Morphe does have other palettes that are mostly one, you know, color scheme, but have those random pops of color in them. Me and a friend of mine were just talking the other day about one that just came out that's mostly like browns and oranges, but it does have a pop of blue and a pop of purple, and that would be the perfect palette for most beginners. So novices are going to need matte natural shades, and this has matte natural shades in it. It also has shimmer shades in it. It also gives you pops of color if you want to do a pop of color. So this is a perfect palette for a beginner too, and you get a whole lot of eyeshadow for a very reasonable price, and all of the Morphe eyeshadow palettes are that way. The next thing I want to talk about is lipsticks. I really feel like for a beginner, I had the most success with pencils and chubbies. And the reason why I say that is because these could get as sharp as I needed them to be as far as a pencil goes. They could get as sharp as I needed to be. I could put them right along the edge of my lip line. They lined at the same time they filled, and I didn't need anything to go over the top of it. I felt like the lasting power of the lip liner lasted just as long for me as like a lipstick did, but I got the exact color that I wanted as well from it because I could mix and match them easier than I could a lipstick. Another option is like the chubbies. It just so happens that all these are buxom, but these chubby lipsticks are also pretty amazing because you can do it like a pencil. I didn't know much about lipstick application when I first got into this. As a matter of fact, lips were probably the last thing I tried to conquer in my makeup application process. One thing that you could also purchase is something like this that is double duty, and it has a tinted lip gloss on one side and a regular lip gloss on the other. You could put this on. It does give your lips a little bit of color without the immense staying power of a lipstick or a lip pencil. The things that I am not suggesting to a newbie would be a liquid lipstick. Even though liquid lipstick staying power is immense, it is pretty phenomenal how long that stuff stays on your lips. I feel like as a newbie, getting into the lip scene, liquid lipsticks were my nemesis. Like, I could not get the hang of them. Some of the doe foots were weird, some of them were amazing, but I could never just stay inside my lips, and that stuff does not come off. It is not forgiving in the slightest, and it's very drying, and if you're not appropriately hydrating your lips and performing, you know, your lip scrubs, then they look awful. They find themselves settling into all the lines in your lips. If you don't have old lips, you will look like you have old lips if you're not properly hydrating and scrubbing your lips with a liquid lipstick. So your better option is going to be like a lip pencil or a a chubby lipstick, a creamy formula chubby lipstick that you can make cater to you. Another option that is like a dual purpose thing is there are chubby sticks that are multifunctional. They work both as a bronzer. They work both as a blush and a lipstick. That's a good way to get your money's worth out of something. And Smashbox carries quite a few of them that are beautiful. The next thing I want to talk about is your application, how you're applying these things. So some things that you're going to need to invest in are brushes and beauty sponges. I use the Miracle Complexion Sponge by Real Techniques. I find that it is the best beauty sponge that I have ever come across. It has a nice fine pointed tip. It has a nice flat edge. It has the, you know, roundedness that is real squishy and nice to your hands. I also really do like Real Techniques brushes. This is a highlighting brush, I do believe, a setting brush, which I don't really use as a setting brush. I use it as a highlighting brush. These guys don't tend to shed. I've never had a problem using them. Some really good eye brushes. This is an Esom brush and this is a Luxie brush. You don't have to spend this much on brushes though. The Real Technique brushes are amazing brushes. I just didn't happen to pull a eye brush of mine that was Real Techniques, but they are amazing brushes. And then this a real nice face brush. This is by Danielle and it's just a large powder brush. It is my big fluffy brush. I love this thing. I use this a lot to blend my face together. So you need some brushes, folks. Those paddles that they give you sometimes with, you know, your drugstore eye palettes, or even the brushes that come with some of these palettes, are horrible. So invest in some brushes. I'm not saying you have to spend hundreds of dollars on brushes, because you absolutely don't. Like I said, Real Techniques is probably my favorite brushes, and you can go get a brush set at like Walmart for 20 bucks. So the next thing I want to talk about is cleaner for that brush. I usually get Daily Brush Cleaner. You want to use this especially if you're applying makeup on a daily, because you don't want your makeup to sit with any kind of powder on it and grow bacteria. So I use this every single time I use a brush on my face anywhere. Your brushes are going to pick up your oils. They're also going to put them into your, you know, makeup. So if you clean them after each application, then you shouldn't have that problem. The last thing that I have to talk about is a facial spray. So I have the Cover FX Illuminating Setting Spray here. I also have the Mario Badescu Facial Spray with Aloe Cucumber and Green Tea. I use this guy every day, and this one goes in my purse. So a setting spray is going to basically create that look of naturalness on your face. A good setting spray is going to help meld all the colors together, help blend everything nicely into your skin, help it just melt into your skin and look more natural, because we all know this ain't natural. Look more natural than just plain old makeup looks. That is what a setting spray is for. And I carry this one in my purse because if I am having like a rough day or an action-packed day, or I feel like really dry, I will spray this on my face. Makeup is drying to your skin, and if I have dry skin already, so my face feels dry after I get it on, and it feels dry throughout the day. So I think it's essential to have a nice setting spray or facial spray that you can continue to moisturize your face with throughout the day to keep your face from looking as dry as it becomes when you put makeup on. The last thing I want to talk about is a cleanser, and I didn't bring one in here with me for whatever reason, but it is important that as a person who puts on their makeup that you cleanse your face as well. So cleanser and moisturizers are super important. Find yourself a nice cleanser that is not going to be super drying to your face. You can find one that does eye makeup as well as face makeup. I have one that just does eyes and one that just does face. But there are some great ones out there on the market. And then after that, you'll definitely want to moisturize your face. Again, putting all this stuff on your face kind of creates this drying effect to your skin. For me, as a dry skin person, it creates more dry skin for me to try and combat. And I have realized that with a proper cleansing routine as well as a moisturizing routine, my face doesn't feel nearly as dry as it did even before I started putting on makeup. So for me, makeup was kind of like a godsend to my skin because I started thinking about these things that I should have been doing eons ago that I hadn't been doing because I didn't wear makeup and didn't need to. But like, I didn't wear an SPF every day and now I do. I didn't moisturize every day and now I do. I definitely never cleaned my face except for when I was in the shower because I wasn't putting anything on it, so why should I have to clean it? But you want to find yourself a good cleanser and you want to find yourself a good moisturizer as well. That is all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed my video on the essentials for a makeup novice. This is the things that I would expect to find in any beginner's makeup bag, and I hope that you learned something from it. If you have anything to add as an essential, please list it down in the comments. I would love to hear your essentials. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Again, I really appreciated having you here with me today. I hope you loved my video, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye.